You watch hours of content and you feel knowledgeable, but then once the videos are gone, you ask yourself, what do I do next? I'm going to show you 3 reasons why consuming content with no purpose is setting you back. You can't use it to your advantage. Common people learn subjects but do not apply them. If you're trying to elevate yourself, like we are trying to do on this channel, we have to be specific with what we're learning. Learning a bunch of random things is not going to get us to our goal. And because we have so many different other interests and passions is why we have to be specific. I can be learning information that I can apply now versus learning a bunch of random facts and things that seem knowledgeable, but at the end of the day, they're just not. Because like I said, if we are trying to elevate ourselves, if we are trying to work towards actually building skills, we want to be able to learn what we are going to apply. That's what our mind has room for. That's what our mind has energy for. And that's how you're going to make the most out of your time. You know, there's always something you can improve in. So you're not always going to be an expert at filming, at content creation, at baking, at motherhood, at fitness. You know, all these things are, you're not a professional yet. And maybe you will be in a few years, but there's always something that you can be working on to make it better. And if you are just starting out or you're just a few years in, there's definitely room for improvement. So instead of asking yourself, what should I learn? Ask, what do I need to learn to take the next step now? Besides not being able to use that information, it's clouding your thinking. So knowledge that doesn't link to what you are working towards, it's distracting you. You need to be specific so your mind can stay in one place. So your mind is actively learning and receiving information in one place at a time. If not, it's like movement with no direction. You know, you're just going down the road, but you have no destination. And that's not the mind frame that we're trying to build on this channel. We're trying to cultivate a mindset that leads us to success, right? In anything, because we're trying to get our life together. We're trying to keep our life balanced and in many different areas. So learning things that are out of that context is just not important. And it's making you feel productive, but you're not really being productive, which is the biggest downfall. For example, a lot of motivational speaking videos have this. People get lost in the emotion and end up watching hours of this. And just because you watch someone get rich doesn't mean that now you're going to get rich. You know, watching a day in the life video of like Grant Cardone doesn't mean now you're gonna suddenly become a real estate agent. You need to break it down in components. Like, what does this man do related to real estate that is getting him there? You know, not what he's eating for breakfast, but what did he do? Did he study certain books? Did he take courses? Did he gather a certain amount of money? Like, these are all specifics that are related to his skill, right? And his breakfast, his oatmeal that he ate is not important because it's not related to that. But these motivational speaking videos contain all that random information that doesn't end up helping you. And that's why we need to be specific with what we're learning, having a direction, right? And although this content is fun, motivation is not going to get you to your goal. What's going to get you there is removing emotion from action and getting the ball rolling. I actually go in depth on how detaching emotion from action will get you towards your goal quicker in my video on how to build discipline through fitness if you're interested in that. Your perspective is important, but so is your time. So on this channel, we're always talking about time and how important time is for us because we use time as a currency. We use time as a tool. So spending hours learning about a sport that you'll never play or learning geography but you'll never travel is wasting your time, for example. You do this hours a day and then you have no return. This can be fun, but if it's chronic, it's wasting your time. So we will not waste time on what we cannot apply. We are going to learn things that are going to get us closer to our goal, right? So being specific, using time as a currency, using a schedule, all these culminated are going to help us get to our goal and use the most amount of our time to our advantage. For example, I know a few topics very well. I don't know about a whole bunch of topics. Like if you ask me things about history or geography or these things, I'm not gonna know about. I may know a few random things, but it's not something where I can say, oh yeah, like I can answer that question right away. But if you ask me about singing, baking, fitness, time management, motherhood, I'm going to be able to tell you something knowledgeable about that because I have focused on each one of those skills or hobbies and gave it my all. And it has been years of practice that have gotten me to that level of understanding. I didn't pick up these things just the other day. And since I have been able to use years of practice through that, I've been able to get good at them. I needed practice. I knew practice would get me there, and it did. It got me very, very far, and I cultivated a beautiful voice. I live by that rule that you have to do more than you learn. Just collecting a lot of information and doing nothing with it is what you don't want to do. What you want to do is, if you want to get better at filming, you have to practice on camera. You have to learn how to speak, but also do the action. It can't be something that lives in your brain and then it never touches reality, because once something touches reality, everything changes. And you're only going to be able to see this through doing. I'm here to tell you that learning a million things is not productive. Being specific with a few is. If this information was useful, my How to Stop Overthinking video will further help you take the next steps towards decision making made easy. I will see you there.